Bookish Babes, and welcome to day 10 of the 12 Days of Bookmas. For those that are new around here, the name's Rainy. I read all types of books, primarily fantasy romance, so if you're interested in that, please like and subscribe to my channel down below. In today's video, we are talking about the 25 books that I wish to read in 2025, and we are doing it via Bri from 4 Paws in a Book's bingo board style. Now, I will say I had chosen 25 books already, and then literally the next day after that, Bri did her bingo board challenge. And so a lot of the books that I put on here, I tried to do as many of these ones as I could, but I couldn't make them all fit. And so there are a couple of these on here that I'm just going to have to white out and redo because I want this to work for that. But I digress, okay? And before you say, but wait, did you even finish your 24 and 24? No, I didn't. I read, I think, 9 of them. And here's the thing, friends. I put a lot of books on there that were either like second or third books in series, or books that I'm like, oh, I've always wanted to get to this book, but it wasn't in a genre that I was really caring about at the moment. And I was like, surely I'll get to it. No, I won't, friends. If it's not fantasy romance, honestly, I'm not going to get to it. Okay. And I should have been more realistic with myself. And so I've put way better books on this. Now, I will say that because it is a bingo board and like some prompts are very specific, I'm a little scared about if I'm actually going to get to all of these, but I'm very, very excited about a lot of them. So I have a lot of hope. We're just gonna try. We're just gonna try. At the end of the day, it's all we can do is we're just gonna try. Now, I will link to Bri and her announcement under here if you want to do it as well, because who needs another bingo board in their life? I know I do. Never ending, honestly. And with that, we're just going to talk about the prompts and then what I chose to fulfill them. So here we go. So if we go for the top row, then the first book is a 2025 release, any book published in 2025. And for that, I immediately thought of The Ballad of Falling Dragons by Sarah A. Parker, which is the second book to When the Moon Hatched. It's coming out, I believe, in fall. I heard October times. I absolutely love When the Moon Hatched. It's one of my favorite books of this year. I'm desperately waiting for the sequel. So as soon as it comes into my possession, you better believe I will read it. I'm gonna be jealous of all the people getting the arcs, but I just can't wait to read that. I just think it's a magical time. Next one is for a one-word title. A, and the do count as a word. So I know that that is a tricky one, but I immediately had one for this one as well, and that is Be Spelled by Laura Thalassa. This is the second one in the Bewitched series, and I read Bewitched actually for the Amazing Readathon last year, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I had so much fun with it. It was a fun, witchy, spicy, vampire-y, romantic-y time, and I don't really know why I never continued on, especially because I bought this like right when it came out, and I don't know why I just haven't gotten to it yet, okay? But I need some more of this in my life. Then we have Involves Travel, and she said that travel doesn't have to be the main part of the story. It could be like a road trip, traveling to another country, maybe even time travel. And I actually thought of this book because I've heard really weird stuff about it, it's a girl that has to travel naked on top of a horse with a man and not the love interest. And it's called White Horse Black Nights by Evie Marceau. I know nothing more about it. The cover is really intriguing to me. I've heard crazy things about it, but I've heard that it's really good as well. And so I think I just need to finally figure out what it's about all for myself. But please hope that it has travel or I'm going to be sad. The next one we have is for a number in the title. And so I went with Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. Now you might say, Rainy, this is on your Goodreads cleanup. Didn't you start this book this year? Yes, I did. Did I get very far? No, I got to page 113. I wasn't really understanding what the hype was all about. I've heard that I need to continue on and then I will fully appreciate this. I want to understand why all the girly pops love this. I really, really do. I just don't get it right now, but I will one day, okay? I will one day. We're just going to have to see if 2025 is the year that I get it. And then we have a cover by a book that I picked up simply because I liked the cover. And honestly, it was Flame and Sparrow by S.M. Gaither, but it was the special edition because on her Etsy for the first 7 days of the month, she sells alternate covers of her books. And this was the cover, and I saw it and I immediately wanted it. Now, I had always wanted to read Flame and Sparrow, but like the cover wasn't really doing anything for me. And then I saw this. I love a good people character fan art on a cover, and so I bought it immediately. I don't know a lot about this at all, and I'm gonna kind of just go into it blindly. I've heard that it's fan-freaking-tastic. It's like 700 pages long. I think the audiobook either just came out or is about to come out, and so I finally can begin my journey with this book. Okay, so the next one is seasonal book, and you're supposed to read a book that takes place in the current season that you're in. So it says, for example, you could read a summer camp thriller in the summer, a witchy book around Halloween, a Christmas romance in December. So I'm gonna go with Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle, because I'm gonna read this during the next spooky season, I hope. I'm really, really interested in this. All I think I remember about this is that it's about a person has an Oscar nomination for his show, but like in order for him to move to the next level, they want him to kill off his gay character, and he decides that he doesn't want to, and then monsters from his actual horror movie start attacking him. I don't really know a lot more than that. I just know that a lot of people were having a good time at this book, and I had a lot of FOMO, but I just didn't get around to it, and so I hope that I finally can this time. Then we have LGBTQ plus representation, so I need to read a book with main characters that are LGBTQ or is written by an LGBTQ plus author. And when I found out that this book fit that prompt with LGBTQ characters, I was very excited, and that is The Raven Boys, or The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. Now you might say, Rainy, didn't you try to read that last year? And yes, I did, but here's the problem, friends. I started buddy reading it with Julie and Brittany because Julie is one of her favorite books of all time. And I was reading it physically, and I was eating it up. I was having the best time with this book. And then I switched to audio because I needed to get work done around the house and whatnot. And that is where I ultimately went astray, because I did not care about that book afterwards. I've heard from a lot of people that the audio sucks. So I think I'm going to try again and read it physically and see if that changes my reading experience and if I end up loving it, because I was really liking it, which makes me think that the format was just wrong. So I'm going to give it another try. Then we have favorite author's newest release, so I need to read an anticipated new release from a favorite author. And so, of course, I picked Wild and Wrangled by Miss Lila Sage. That's the 4th book in the Done and Dusted series. I have not read Lost and Lassoed yet, but don't you worry, by April I will have read it so that I can read Wild and Wrangled, so I can read Cam and Dusty's romance. I don't know, something about a cowboy romance just makes me yee freaking haw, okay? I just love it so much. It makes my whole heart happy, and they're just a fun smutty time. Then we have Hyped Book, and it says, read a book that you've been seeing everywhere. And I mean, this is no surprise, okay? Onyx Storm, Rebecca Yarros. I'm currently in my reread of Fourth Wing. I am going to hopefully read Iron Flame this week so that I am all caught up for Onyx Storm. Everyone and their mother is talking about it and patiently waiting and anticipating its release, and so I might as well jump on that train because I'm also going to be reading it on opening day. And then we have Color of the Year, and so you just take it, you could use Pantone, you could use Goodreads Color of the Year, and you read a book with that color mainly on the cover. And I'm gonna go with Goodreads because I don't really like the Pantone Color of the Year. I'll post it here, but it's like this ugly like poop brown. I don't like it. So I'm gonna go with Goodreads, and hopefully they pick a good color. But since that has not been announced yet because the new year hasn't started, I will insert a book when I actually know the color. And we have the third row, and we have POC Author, so read a book by an author of color, and I went with An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I've been waiting to read this book patiently. I've heard that it is a fantastic fantasy romance YA, and I really just need that in my life because I don't really read a lot of YA anymore, so if I'm gonna read it, it has to be really good, and I've heard that this just packs the punch that I am desperately craving, okay? All I know is that Leia is a slave, Elias is a soldier, neither is free, and we're just gonna dive right in, friends. Then we have Novella, and so novellas are typically under 200 pages, and I didn't even actually check to see if this is under 200, but it is. And so I went with The Big ASS Party by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. This is a novella that you read in the Zodiac Academy series, and yes, it stands for something astrological, but it spells ASS. Hilarious, right? And so I decided if I'm going to continue and finish my Zodiac Academy journey in 2025, I might as well put one of these novellas on here to make it easier for me. Then we have 5-star prediction. Read a book that you think will be 5 stars. And honestly, I didn't give the first book of this character 5 stars, but if I was to reread it, I would, because I just appreciate the series so much more now. And that's Daisy Hates Too by Jessa Hastings. I love everything Miss Jessa writes. I mean, well, except for Never. We pretend that didn't happen. And so I really need to get to this. I'm kind of ashamed that I haven't finished this book yet. I don't really know what I'm doing with my life, but I know that it's going to be 5 stars. I know it's going to pack a punch. It has my Mr. Julian front and center. We love a bad mafia boy. We really freaking do. And then we have Comped, which needs to be, it's basically where a book has been compared to another book, or it's been compared to a favorite 5-star book that I read. And I actually found out that Nestlings by Nat Cassidy has done that, because apparently it is harnessing the creeping paranoia of Rosemary's Baby with the urban horror of Salem's Lot. And that really hooked me. I love a creepy kid, weird baby, missing child moment. I don't really know what that says about me that I do, but I just feel like I'm going to love this. I really, really, really want to read this. Like, I just want to get it over with already. So I can't wait for this to be on the docket. And then we have a friend rec. And so this could come from like a real life friend, a booktuber, etc. I put it from a TikToker, Miss Mariana Reads, because anything that she gets me to read, like, gets me to buy because of her talking about it, I would say is a win. And so I picked Nocticadia by Carrie Lake, which she said is like a dark academia, dark forbidden romance. And you don't need to tell me a lot more, but the way that she was talking about this and how I've already read a Carrie Lake book, Master of Salt and Bones, and really, really, really loved it, makes me think that I'm going to love this as well. I do want to also pick up Anathema or Anathema, however you say, her newest book that came out, but this one is the one that I really, really, really want to prioritize soon. And for our fourth row, we have a book that is over 400 pages, and that's not hard. Almost any book that I read is going to be over 400 pages. And so I chose The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang because I need to get to this, and I was going to do it for a read-along a while ago and I just didn't get to it, but I read like the first chapter and I absolutely loved it. So I need to continue on with this. I know that I'm going to love it. I've loved every book that I've read by R.F. Kuang so far. She just really knows how to write a good freaking book. Then we have special edition, and to read a book that has something special about it, extra sprayed edges, digital end papers, whatever it is. And I chose Bloodguard by C.C. Robson because I think it's really pretty. It's like a gladiator inspired romantasy. I've not heard the greatest things about it so far, but like, I don't know. I'm hoping that it can pull itself around because it's very, very beautiful, and I would love for it to be able to stay on my shelves, but if it's bad, like, it's hitting the curb. We have chapter titles to read a book that has something other than like chapter 1, chapter 2. And I'm not gonna lie, this took me 5 freaking ever to find a book that worked. And then finally I picked one up and it worked. And that's Blood and Mercy by Vela Roth. Thank freaking God. And I already know that I'm gonna be reading this next year because me and Brittany are going to be buddy reading it together. And I'm very excited for that. It has chapter titles. All I know is I read the novella to this, and La Prix novella, and absolutely loved it. It's about vampires. And that's really all I need to know. Then we have debut author. And so it's supposed to read a book from an author that only has 1 book published. And so this actually works out that I'm going to be reading my January, February book club pick for my Patreon. And we're going to be reading The Dagger and the Forbidden Air by Amelia Jade. I don't know a lot going into it. This is what they voted on, but I know that I'm going to be meeting this author hopefully at Villains and Vixens next year if I end up liking the book. And so I want to prioritize debut indie authors. And then the last book for this row is mental health representation. And it says read a book that features some type of mental health rep. And I picked Of Night and Blood by Bri Lamb, and she also is an indie debut author that is going to be at Villains and Vixens that I've heard great things about that I want to meet. Now at this current moment, I can't remember what mental health rep it said it was in, but I dug and dug and dug and researched, and that finally came up that book was available. And since I'm going to be needing to read it anyway, I think it's going to be great. I think there's vampires in it. I could 100% be wrong, so like go look this book up after I'm done and see if I'm right or not. And then we have the final row, starting off with a snake on the cover. And this actually worked out that I had bought this book from Aardvark Book Club like the month before. And so I picked The Serpent and the Wolf by Rebecca Robinson. Serpent, there you go. I know that I think Cassidy read this recently and had a good time with it, and so I am intrigued, but I don't know much more. I just know that it says a fake marriage meets enemies to lovers in a steamy, thrilling romantasy debut. That sounds pretty good to me. And we have self-published, read a book that was not published traditionally or from an indie published author. And so I am going with The Throne of Broken Gods by Amber B. Nicole, which is the second book to the what is it called? The Book of Azriel. Good Lord, I almost forgot. I really loved Azriel. I thought it was a really good book. I need to continue on. And so I need to do this so that I can hopefully get up to where the 4th book is coming out this year and get to understand and be in the know with all of the girlies that absolutely eat this series up because it's just so good. There's so many different types of monsters. It's very lush in the world building. It's just a good time. Then the next one is a new to you author, and you have to read a book from an author that you haven't read before. And I'm actually going to go with A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner for 2 reasons. One, yes, I'm putting a romance on here. One, also, I got this book from Ingram Sparks. They sent it to me for free, and I have 6 months up to where I can read it because I signed a contract with them to like read it and leave a review. And it's been 4 months already, so I kind of need to prioritize it. I've also heard that this book will break me and that it is incredibly beautiful and tragic and sad. I don't really know if I'm, ready for that, but sure, why not? Then we have TBR Vet, so a book that is either one of the oldest books on my TBR or a book that I've just had on my TBR forever, and that is The Butcher by Jennifer Hillier. I have read almost every Jennifer Hillier book that is out there because I really like the way that she writes, and I just haven't read this one yet. Honestly, because it was mass market paperback, and I'm not a big mass market girly, but it just got re-released in a nice red big book, and I need to get that so I can get rid of this edition, but it's like a serial killer book, and so I eat those up. So like, what am I even doing? And then the last one is to read a book from another challenge, read a book that you have to read. And so my challenge is my series challenge that I'm doing, which my bingo board announcement. So if you need to see that, I will link that under here. And I went with Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig because this is a duology that I plan on finishing out this year, especially before her release of her new book, The Night and the Moth, I think in April. And I really, really, really loved book one. It's going to probably be on my top 10 of the year. And so I need to finish this one out. I've heard conflicting things about this one. Some people say it's way better than One Dark Window. Some people say it's not. But I do know that a good two people sharing one mind trope, I'm very much here for that. And I don't know what that says about me. And so with that, that is my 25 and 25. I hope you had a good time with this video and that you found some books that maybe you could put on your radar if you hadn't already. If you got to the end of this, let's put a crown emoji for Two Twisted Crowns. Let me know a book that you are promising to get to yourself in 2025. Let me know if you're participating in Bri's Bingo Challenge. Like I said, I'll put all of that information underneath this video. And then I just want to say a special thank you to my residents in my Patreon. I love you very much. If you're interested in more knowing about our friends-themed Patreon community that we have, you can find it underneath this video. Make sure to like and subscribe to my videos so that you find future ones after this, especially because we have a very exciting readathon announcement coming soon, detective inspired. And with that, I will see you guys in a video very soon. Bye.